Hello and welcome to Always Bored, Never Boring. As long-time viewers will know, I am gradually working through all of the HeroQuest quest books, taking deep dives into the plots to analyse each individual dungeon and how they hang together as a complete narrative. And as we are in the spooky season, there really was only one choice for which quest to look at today, because somehow, the Witch Lord returned. And it should go without saying, this video is full of spoilers. Only Zargons should watch from this point. For the rest of you, hopefully I will see you in the next video. Return of the Witch Lord is one of two quests teased in the conclusion of the core game campaign. In that conclusion, we are informed that the king is in a predicament in Kellar's Keep, and we are also told that the Witch Lord wasn't as dead, or undead, or re-dead as we thought for. You can attempt these quests in any order, which stands for any HeroQuest expansion to be fair. But officially and logically, you should complete Kellar's Keep, which is a time-critical storyline, before moving on to Return of the Witch Lord. The plot, as far as it goes, is pretty straightforward, and in isolation it's not particularly compelling. The Witch Lord has taken up residence in the destroyed city of Kalos, where, along with Skullmar, the captain of the Forgotten Legion, and Cassandra, the Witch Queen, he is attempting to enact a plan that will cause all fallen warriors to rise up under his banner. But this quest is more than that. It's the dramatic conclusion to a 3-quest story arc that I have spoken about at length in previous videos. To recap, in the core game the heroes learn the ropes and make their names. Unfortunately, in doing that they also make a terrible mistake and unleash the Witch Lord on an already troubled world. To rectify their error, they quest for the Spirit Blade and then use it to defeat the Witch Lord. This concludes the core campaign, which ends with a devastating cliffhanger. The king has gone to war with Zargon, but things have gone badly and the remnants of his army are trapped in Kellar's Keep. At the same time, news arises that the Witch Lord isn't dead at all. The heroes are forced to make a dire choice. The king needs aid, but providing that aid gives the Witch Lord time to regain his power, and his mere existence is a stain on the heroes' reputations. He is the proof of their fallibility, and the blame for every atrocity he commits rests on their shoulders. They must finally put an end to his cursed unlife. So while the plot really is just the Witch Lord has come back, there is much more emotional weight to it than that. This is part of something more personal to the heroes, and when you connect world-threatening events with personal stakes, you elevate the drama. The quest begins with the heroes arriving at the entrance to the Witch Lord's stronghold, and the introductory text makes it clear the Witch Lord ain't hiding. He knows the heroes are coming, and he has provided a warm welcome for them. Even in this first dungeon, the gloves are off. There's a pit trap 3 spaces into the first corridor that you cannot search for because of the presence of a skeleton, and there is a massive party of undead foes located in the first 4 rooms. To make matters worse, as soon as a hero enters any of those 4 rooms, marked C on the map, all of the monsters are alerted to their presence. Zargon populates all 4 rooms immediately. This is a real baptism of fire, a massive punch-up to make it clear the heroes have a challenge ahead. But if they can survive this gauntlet, things calm down. There are very few enemies in the rest of the dungeon, and there are even some pouches of Dust of Disappearance to be found. As a side note, the Dust of Disappearance card is a prime example of HeroQuest's loosey-goosey rules writing. Can you throw the dust on any hero anywhere on the board? Do you have to be adjacent? Does it cost your action for the turn? It's all stuff Zargon is going to have to rule on, and it could have easily been worded more clearly. Quickly moving on, if the heroes survive the first ordeal, they enter the Cold Halls, the resting place of the Spirit Riders. The heroes simply need to sneak through the halls to escape via the spiral staircase. This quest gives us a fun set piece, the revolving room. Whenever a hero tries to leave this room, it rotates. The player rolls a d6 to see which of the 4 doors they will leave by. This is fun as it splits the party, throwing heroes into predicaments they may not be well equipped to handle. You really don't want your wizard stumbling alone into that room filled with mummies. The heroes also need to watch out for some unpleasant traps here. A chest trap that inflicts 3 body points of poison damage, and a tomb that when opened fills the room with a magical mist that will destroy Orc's Bane or Borin's armour. Ouch. I think one of the most interesting things about this dungeon is also one of its biggest problems. It's designed as a cautionary tale, as a reminder for heroes to always search for secret doors and to stay focused on the mission. In this case, the secret exit out of the dungeon is in the middle. If the heroes find it and take the stairs, they will leave this dungeon relatively unscathed. However, if they choose to continue exploring, they will stumble upon the risen Spirit Riders, who are fairly tough mini-bosses. On the one hand, this is excellent design. The heroes were told from the start the Spirit Riders were here. They were told to reach the safety of the stairs. If they choose to continue exploring, the ensuing trouble is on them. And as a harsh lesson, they won't even find any additional treasure for that trouble. The Riders are not hiding any secret stash. But on the other hand, if the heroes take the secret door and leave, they will miss half the dungeon, they won't get to encounter the spooky Spirit Riders at all, which is going to make this mission feel a bit anticlimactic, and most importantly, they will never learn the valuable lesson that they should be sticking to the plan. Quest 3 is the Silent Passages, where the heroes will face an eerie new foe, the Death Mist. This mist prowls the shaded region of the map, moving up to 6 spaces on each of Zargon's turns. If it passes over a hero, that hero immediately loses 1 body point. Considering there are long stretches of straight corridor, the heroes are going to take quite a battering here, unless they can figure out how to banish the mist, which can only be achieved by using the Spirit Blade or a Tempest spell. And I love the idea of giving spells thematically relevant uses during specific set pieces. It has to be done with care. Heroes have to have an alternative option in case they don't have the right spell, which is increasingly possible with the introduction of so many new heroes. But it's lovely to have that extra little bit of role-playing where the heroes can figure out how to use a spell to achieve a goal that is somewhat out of the ordinary. I have to say, this overall threat is very well constructed and implemented. It has 2 ways of being defeated, both of which make sense, yet neither of which are so obvious that the heroes will be able to immediately figure it out. And if the heroes have somehow lost the Spirit Blade, this quest gives them a replacement Spirit Blade in the tomb at location D. This is not only almost essential for completing the campaign, but it's also a hint that the blade could be the way to banish the Dread Mist. Making sure the heroes have the tools they need is an integral part of a good puzzle and a good dungeon design. I think the only other thing of real note here is the presence of traps immediately behind doors. Always a dick move, but look at that pit trap surrounded by spear traps. That's a double dick move. Quest 4 is the Halls of Vision, which is a gimmick quest. The whole thing is geared around the conceit that the fair and wise ruler of Kalos, Agrain, made a maze of magical rooms which requires magical keys to navigate. Throughout the maze there are doors that will vanish as soon as a nearby mummy is slain. Vanishing doors can block off the exit to the maze and split the party, introducing considerable risk. However, if the heroes can make it to the laboratory, they will find a set of magical keys that will make any vanished doors reappear. The catch is, that laboratory is behind one of the doors that can disappear. This is another lovely teaching moment for the heroes. By the time they get to the lab, they will have almost certainly encountered at least 3 mummies that caused doors to vanish. If they then mindlessly kill a 4th, well, they aren't paying attention. Fortunately, there is a secondary way to escape the maze without accessing the lab, but as the magical keys are worth big bucks, and the lab also contains some spell scrolls, getting into the lab is preferable. If the heroes make it through the maze, they enter the true domain of the Witch Lord, deep caverns beneath Kalos where he plots his revenge. There isn't too much to say about this quest, except to point out the insane number of zombies in one room, the obscene amount of spear traps, and of course, Bel Thor the Gargoyle. Bel Thor is the Witch Lord's watchdog, and he has a magical breath attack that he can make in addition to a regular attack. His breath attack saps mind points, making this one of the first times ever where mind points were truly relevant. If a hero falls to 0 mind points, they are knocked unconscious and take no further part in this quest. It's important to note, at the time Return of the Witchlord came out, Shock didn't exist. Shock, a set of rules that come into effect when a hero reaches 0 mind points, was first seen in Frozen Horror, and while Shock is now generally considered the standard for resolving what happens if a hero loses their mind, it does not supersede and should not replace these special rules for the Bel Thor encounter. And that's because the Bel Thor battle is an interactive cutscene. You can play through it, but you can't actually win. Even if the heroes defeat Bel Thor, the gargoyle explodes, filling the room with poisonous gas that knocks out all of the heroes anyway. At this point, failure is preordained. The heroes are forced to experience a failure. And you can see good and bad in that. In terms of the good, it's just an exciting story beat. It's a dramatic turn of events. The heroes are about to experience their lowest moment, and they should be rightly concerned about how they are going to get out of this situation. Some of the heroes may even spend a part of this mission believing they are truly, genuinely dead. In terms of the bad, while the event is exciting, it's also ultimately pointless. The heroes can't change their fate. They will lose. As a result, they may feel cheated. They may feel like their agency has been stolen away, undermining the story they were trying to craft for themselves. Personally, I enjoy these story-driven moments that shake things up. I think they're a great way to keep heroes on their toes. However, the occurrence of this disaster at the end of Quest 5 feels a bit too early. The heroes losing a pivotal battle feels like a second act low point, the moment when they have to dig deep and strive harder to succeed in the face of insurmountable odds. Dropping it at the exact midpoint of the campaign throws the pacing out slightly. The heroes are going to bounce back long before the third act finale, and with 5 missions left to complete, the campaign narrative is going to struggle to maintain the excellent drama it has sought to inject. Still, that may be a picky complaint, and should not distract us from the fact we have reached the point masterfully presented on the cover art. It's Quest 6, Halls of the Dead. At the start of this quest, only the dwarf and wizard are present. They awaken in a prison cell, marked A on the map, with no weapons or gear. However, Mentor casts a powerful spell that blasts the door open, and they will find their equipment just outside. Nevertheless, all their gold has been taken forever. Certainly an upset for heroes who were hoarding. And even worse, their companions are nowhere to be seen. Incidentally, I do not like Mentor's intervention here. It goes against everything we know about his powers up to this point. Normally he guides, but he doesn't have the power to become involved in what is happening. I think it's better to start this adventure with the dwarf picking the lock. It's in character, keeps the focus on the heroes looking out for themselves and falling back on their own skill sets, and doesn't overpower Mentor or lead to questions about why he can't use his magic to cut down enemies for the heroes when the going gets tough. That aside, once again, we have a mission that forces the players to split the party, and this time, the split could go on for an extended period of time as the dwarf and wizard scour the area in search of their friends. This is brilliant, a really tense moment that leaves all the players on an uncertain footing. You must remember, by this time your heroes will be rather powerful, with a lot of decent equipment, so forcing them into smaller groups, throwing them curveballs, keeps the game interesting. The heroes are never going to feel comfortable. However, it is also, potentially, a bit annoying for the 2 players who are sitting out this part of the quest. In truth, the barbarian and the elf are only in the next room, imprisoned as they are in the central chamber, but if the dwarf and wizard go off on a jolly in the other direction, it could be a considerable amount of time until the heroes are reunited. As a Zargon player, if the heroes start to go too far off course, I would be tempted to throw out some hints. Jeering from the central chamber, or signs of someone having been dragged down the corridor, for example. Should the heroes find each other, the proverbial hits the fan. The barbarian and the elf are chained up before a baying crowd of monsters, probably the largest group of enemies seen up to this point if we ignore the never-ending green tide that chases the heroes through Kellar's keep. And it's in this central chamber that the heroes will get their first glimpse of the Witch Lord. It is only a glimpse though. As the dwarf and wizard burst in, and the barbarian and elf simultaneously break from their bonds, the Witch Lord curses and vanishes, leaving his minions to deal with the threat. This leads to a rather messy battle. The barbarian and elf may be free now, but they have no weapons or equipment, although the elf has their spells. The heroes are left with 2 choices: fight the horde, even though they aren't at full power, or flee for the exit, if they know where it is. Fleeing seems wise. Outpacing these slow skeletons isn't too hard, and it almost seems like the dungeon has been designed to encourage such an action, because in a twisted act of villainy, all of the barbarians and elf stuff is in the central room. If they flee, all that stuff is lost. This can be a terrible setback for heroes, taking away some of their best loot and leaving them significantly weakened for the rest of the campaign. Honestly, this whole mission feels like a bit of a troll. because there is a huge looping path leading to the exit, but if the heroes have the wherewithal to search the prison cell they started in, they will find a secret door leading straight to the exit, making everything so much easier. You have to respect that level of cruelty. Before we move on to the next quest, I suppose I should address a pretty major issue. Return of the Witchlord assumes a party containing an elf, barbarian, dwarf and wizard, the only heroes that existed when the quest was written. If you are using a different heroic lineup, Zargon is going to have to make a judgment call on which heroes to place in each location. I would go with placing the best spellcaster and the best trapster in the prison cell, while ensuring the strongest fighter is in the central chamber. And if your heroes should foolishly flee this dungeon without taking the spirit sword with them, make sure you add in a way for them to get it back later. I'm quite partial to the idea of the Witchlord having it in his throne room so he can mock the heroes with it in the final battle. Quest 7 is the Forgotten Legion, another gimmick dungeon. With the exception of a few wandering zombies, all of the enemies are located in the central chamber, and the heroes must pass through that room to escape. It's a bit more interesting than that though. The heroes enter by door A, and they are presented with the ranks of the Forgotten Legion, all encased in magical ice, which the heroes cannot break. The heroes will be expecting the worst, but for now they are safe. It is only once a hero opens the door marked B that all of the ice shatters and the Legion lurch into unnatural motion, seeking to destroy the intruders. If this happens at a bad time, a sea of enemies could sweep over the heroes, splitting the party and perhaps even completely surrounding unfortunate victims. To make matters worse, Skullmar is hiding among their ranks. He is a competent fighter, but thankfully lacks any form of magical attacks. The most interesting thing about Skullmar is that if the heroes look like they are going to win the fight, he will retreat. Zargon should attempt to move Skullmar to the spiral staircase to escape. If he gets away, he is removed from the board. If the heroes catch and kill him, they get to take his shoes. Flippin' hell, the heroes are killing people and taking their shoes now. Their rabbit boots, to be exact, which improve the chances of jumping over one trap per turn. Sadly, apart from missing out on some fancy footwear, there is no real downside to letting Skullmar escape. That's a shame. An enemy that attempts to flee is a great idea, but really only half an idea unless you have also devised a way for them to come back later and punish the heroes who didn't finish the job. Really, if Skullmar escapes, there should be something bad waiting for the heroes later on. A more heavily defended room where Skullmar will make a final stand, for example. Just something. You shouldn't set up a recurring villain only for them not to recur. It's a wasted opportunity. Still, there is some work there for a good Zargon player, a chance to flesh out this aspect of the adventure. Quest 8 is the Forbidden Caves. Apparently, no one has ever entered here before, but the Witchlord would beg to differ, as would the presence of all the doors and furniture. This is a pretty straightforward quest. Get from the stairs to the exit without becoming zombie chow. But there is an interesting twist. There are 4 areas marked on the board with crosses. On each of Zargon's turns, he may take 2 skeletons, zombies or mummies and spawn 1 each on 2 of the spaces. This is reminiscent of the mission in Kellar's Keep where the heroes are pursued by an endless green horde. Only now, it's an endless gangrenous horde, and the enemies are coming from multiple directions. This is real Night of the Living Dead stuff. The heroes are going to have to move fast or they are going to get hemmed in. But it's quite a long winding route to the exit, and there will be plenty of time for reinforcements to start choking the narrow corridors. That makes it really tense, really exciting. This also ramps up the action. It's clear the Witchlord is throwing everything he has left at the heroes as they close in on him. Quest 9 is the Last Gate, the final defences the heroes must breach in order to confront the Witchlord. And before I talk in detail about this mission, I need to point out a significant error on the map that is a huge impact on what is, or should be, an excellently constructed dungeon. In the first corridor, there should be 2 doors, not just 1. One door leads into the top right corner of the board, where the heroes will battle the Doomguard. The other door, which should be on the circled space, leads into the lower right corner, where the heroes will encounter Cassandra. Although it is possible to explore both routes, in essence, the heroes are being presented with a choice. 2 different ways that will lead them to the central chamber, where they will find the most ridiculous cluster of traps ever seen in HeroQuest. If the heroes choose to progress through the dungeon going by the top right corner, they are in for a tough time because of the superpowered Doomguard Dread Warriors. They are move 8, attack 4, defend 6, body 3 and mind 3. However, I think this challenge is worth undertaking as there is a nice reward, the Armband of Healing, which restores 2 body points once per quest and will trigger automatically if a hero is defeated. It's an excellent, very powerful item. If the heroes head through the lower portion of the map, they will encounter Cassandra the Witch Queen. And I've got to be honest, this character isn't integrated in this quest in any meaningful way and is almost completely wasted. For a start, it's possible to get through the dungeon without even meeting her. But also, if the heroes do meet her, it feels like an encounter that hasn't been fully developed. She's quite a tough boss, she's immune to all spells except fire, knows a lot of spells that she can throw at the heroes, and she is as tough as a Doomguard. Furthermore, if she takes a lot of damage, she will try to escape just like Skullmar. If she reaches the spiral staircase, she leaves the board. But again, just like Skullmar, this doesn't really matter. If the heroes kill her, they don't get any kind of reward. They can't even take her shoes. If they let her get away, they don't suffer any kind of consequences. It's an encounter begging for a Zargon player to give it some more meaning. Regardless, the heroes will eventually find the way to Quest 10, the Court of the Witchlord, where we are immediately greeted with another mistake on the map. There should be 2 doors in the first room, the one leading north and one leading west. The door to the west is absolutely essential. You cannot get through to the Witchlord without it. I should mention though, newer reprints of this quest pack have corrected these mistakes on the maps, and if you want to, you can download corrected quest books from Hasbro's website. This final quest is another fairly straightforward adventure, with the main focus being the final battle with the Witchlord. However, I do need to mention the 4 orcs on the corners of the boards. They are magical statues that cannot be passed or moved. Hilariously, if a hero attempts to hit one, any weapon except the Spirit Blade will shatter. This quest really does have some troll moments in it. The final battle with the Witchlord is a straight up rumble. He has Doomguard protecting him, along with some skeletons and mummies. There are only 4 things that can harm the Witchlord: the Spirit Blade, the Fire of Wrath, the Ball of Flame, and magical throwing daggers. And here's an interesting little way in which the heroes can completely ruin the final battle. Throughout the course of the adventure, they can find exactly 4 magical daggers, each of which inflicts 1 unblockable damage. The Witchlord has exactly 4 body points. Now, obviously the heroes won't know magical daggers work, but should they figure it out, well, you can read them the conclusion to the campaign. As soon as the Witchlord dies, his minions crumble and the heroes win. Mentor gives them a pat on the back, and the whole narrative clatters around your ears in a very unsatisfying way. We are told that Skullmar, who we believe to be slain, has escaped with a bunch of the Witchlord's spellbooks. Firstly, if the heroes let him escape during the campaign, then they didn't believe he was slain at all. Meanwhile, if they did stop him from escaping, this feels like a low blow. What was the point in chasing him if he gets away anyway? Why have we had this set piece where we could prevent him from fleeing? And why is there no word of Cassandra? She may or may not have escaped during the campaign too. We are warned we will have to face Skullmar again, but the next time he gets mentioned is in the free online quest Nightfall, where it's revealed he is escaping from prison. How did he get caught? We're never told. They are infuriating inconsistencies that probably don't matter that much to the majority of players, but which annoy me because they are so easy to avoid. And the inconsistencies don't end there. We are finally told that the king is waiting for the heroes in the Grand Palace. Only, he might not be. He might be under siege in Kellar's Keep, depending on the order in which the heroes tackled things. Again, it is a minor thing, but it is a thing. Overall, for this conclusion, I think Zargon players are better off coming up with their own text, writing something that better fits with what their heroes have done. Regardless, that does bring us to the end of this adventure, and it's a great adventure. I know I've picked at a lot of the details in this review, that's the point of these deep dives, but despite that picking, the quest doesn't unravel. Sure, there is scope for things to be improved. Skullmar and Cassandra should play a more vital role, and whether or not they escape should absolutely have a bearing on the final quest in the campaign, for example, but overall, this is a solid adventure. It has some exciting set pieces, some really tense situations, some cleverly constructed mazes, some devious traps, and the chance for heroes to face a massive shambling horde of the undead. Players may start to get fed up seeing the same 3 enemy types over and over again, but if you have against the ogre horde, you can drop in some skeleton archers just to mix things up. and really, this one's just a classic. I don't think it hits the same heights as Kellar's Keep, but as far as I'm concerned, it's still one of the best quest packs. Spooky fun for everyone. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, because that is it from me for now. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please consider pressing the like button. If you really like this video, please consider subscribing if you don't already do so, and hopefully, I'll see you all again very soon. Bye bye everyone, bye bye.